April is the month for seed planting, both literal and metaphorical. You are the seed, germinating and unfurling steadily each day. Consider what you need for optimal health and well-being. Water, light, air, earth, nourishment, and time. In this episode, we reconsider our prejudice of dandelions, take a first cut of asparagus, and make some time to get pickled. Welcome to Biophilic. I'm Angela Wallace. Direct from the back garden, this is episode 21, April, Spring. Your wildflower is someone else's weed, and that's okay. Think about what lights you up and do it every day. Insist on it if you have to. And so the world turns. The weather is unpredictable, with increasingly warmer, earlier springs and greater frequency of storms. Yet the rhythm and regularity of your garden requires small tasks be completed in timely fashion. One such job is dead-heading daffodils. Using your thumb and forefinger, nip off the wilted head just below the swollen ovary at the top of the stem. This ensures no seed is produced, so energy is returned to the bulb for next year's display. Compost these deadheads. For ease, I simply put them behind the love seat to nourish the honeysuckle. Allow all your daffodil leaves to die back naturally over the coming months. This too allows energy to return to the bulb. In creating our pollinator spaces, we begin to realise that the one great advantage of gardening for nature is all the needless, busy, traditional tidying becomes detrimental and unnecessary. Just ask the toad. Bufo bufo. If you'd like to encourage amphibians into the garden, it's beneficial to put excess leaves, cuttings and decaying wood out of the way in damp nooks and crannies. I discovered this by accident one day when foolishly tidying behind the love seat. Lifting up a rotting bit of tree stump, I was confronted with a large common toad. They were amazing. Warty, yes. A mixture of dark browns and greens, almost perfectly camouflaged, but for the shine on their large eyes. Bigger than expected and so still. They are important predators in the ecosystem of our spaces, and all we have to do is be messy and allow space. All we have to do is less. Gently replacing the stump, I marvelled at this meeting and consider it one of the great wonders of this young nature garden. That is what nature does when given the chance. It surprises and finds its own way into your life. Flowers, of all things. Our first glimpse of honesty begins in winter, when we notice their glossy green rosettes. Always worth planting. It is so prolific. Earlier in the year, I confused it with Jack by the hedge and had pulled up a few rosettes before realising my mistake. But nature is forgiving. The honesty is now up and out. Honesty is a biennial wildflower. In its first year, it will form a rosette of dark green, spending the summer harnessing the heat and nutrients through photosynthesis. In its second spring, it will bear white or lilac-y purple inflorescences that once pollinated will steadily develop over its second late season into moon-shaped green and then silvery, ripe, penny-looking seeds. Allow honesty to naturalise as a pollinator-friendly, early perennial wildflower. Enjoy the flowers and then scatter the seeds. Magnolia is called the patient gardener's tree. It can take 10 years of growth and good conditions to bloom. I had a small specimen that I'd nurtured in a big pot-belly ridged terracotta pot, which the winter damp killed. Hardy species like magnolia tend not to be finished off by frost, but by sitting in cold, waterlogged ground. So bring your potted young ones under cover during the dark months. Like in life, there are losses in a garden, but it is important to have compassion with ourselves. To allow growth and accept setbacks can be the making of us. I have quickly learned more about the sapling by losing it than I would have done had it survived. I can always try again with magnolia, if I have the patience. My neighbours have a lovely mature specimen blooming right now. Its pinky white waxy fairy flowers are dancing, keeping pace with the season. The flowers arrive early, before the leaves, a hysteranthus behaviour which attracts insects, improves wind pollination and prioritises energy reserves. Unopened blooms can be munched straight from the tree. Always ask the owner's permission. Collect a handful and try this pickled flower recipe. Pickled magnolia flowers. Ingredients: 2 handfuls of magnolia flowers, washed and cut at the base, 150 ml of rice wine vinegar, 50 grams of sugar, and a pinch of salt. Method: sterilise your container. Old jam jars are ideal. Pack your washed and prepped flowers tight into the jar. Bring the rice wine vinegar, sugar and salt to the boil and then simmer for 5 minutes or so. Pour this mixture over the magnolias and seal the jar tightly and quickly. Careful, this will be hot. Tip the jar up for a minute to get a better seal. Allow the magnolias to cool and then store in the fridge. Leave for 3 days to pickle before opening. Eat them like pickled ginger with sushi and salads. They can be stored for 6 months in the fridge, but they won't last that long. Prejudice. Dandelion, pissenlit, pea the beds are out. Open and so yellow bright, glaring neon in the sun. How do they make you feel? We've been taught to dislike them, despise them even, and see them as an enemy. Coming to terms with dandelions is a mad skill you will cultivate when interacting within your pollinator garden. Let's consider them a different way. Dandelions are a free whole food for insects and humans, with many species depending on their nourishment in early months. The entire plant can be eaten, used in salads, scones and teas. The leaves make a delicious pesto. Sprinkle the petals in salads or cook them into scones, and use the dried roots for tea. Only forage plants which you can fully identify and can guarantee have not been sprayed with pesticides. Dandelions are a diuretic, promoting water loss, so should be eaten in moderation. Dandelions do still have the power to trigger me. I kill path pissers on hot days, spraying them with a mixture of vinegar, salt and washing up liquid. In flower beds I use a bulb planter, forced down into the soil to get out as much root as possible. But on the whole, I leave them, eat them, and nip the heads off before they seed. Name your space. Some work happened today creating the apple orchard. I do find giving names to certain areas of the garden an amusing pastime. You can do this in the humblest of spaces. It's all for fun. So far, my garden has a wildflower meadow, 2 woodland zones, a rhubarb patch, which I've named Babs, the courtyard with brown turkey fig, a potting bench, a love seat, and pond. I'll tell you all about these as we share in each other's lives over the coming months. Leave the garden behind. Getting out of your comfort zone to experience other gardens and nature spaces is one great way to spend a day. I took myself out on a soggy expedition to the Royal Botanic Gardens, Edinburgh, skirting massive puddles of footpath destruction into thick mud with entirely inadequate shoes. It was damp, cold, and enlivening. A luxury to be on my own, doing my own thing, putting myself first. Autonomy. That's another key facet to pollinator gardening. Being outdoors in and for nature. I spent an afternoon visiting their botanical print exhibition and archive space, which allowed freedom to think and process what has passed. A long wander in the garden, then a browse of the books and adorable houseplants left me sated and sleepy. On my return journey, the wind picked up, with a yellow warning to take care. It is a day of gusts so strong they stop you in your tracks as you plant feet into the ground, leaning into it tenacious. The river path curved round by water torrents leading into the city throng, where, beside clammy, sweating windows, I bussed it home. Car alarms were panicking, garage doors complaining. I checked the tadpoles. They were happy underwater, mostly still, gaining mass, planning their next move. Asparagaceae, anxiety and joy. I glimpsed the first bluebells today, shot up like asparagus spears, still huey green, turning slowly blue. Bells that will drip like water, hanging over the coming weeks. They were here before us. I've scrutinised them, squinting at pictures. Are they Spanish? Are they English? Even frantically, in years past, pulling clumps out the ground. Much mellowed now. I greet them, accept them, love them for whoever or whatever they are. Speaking of asparagus spears, they are unearthing themselves too. 3 pointed heads steadily reaching skywards. The crowns were planted into a bed, tucked in with a heavy tog of rich compost and left for 3 years. The spears emerge each spring for around 6 to 8 short weeks. As this will be our first harvest, I'll only cut for 3 to 4 weeks maximum. At the end of their season, they grow tall, ferning over high summer, causing a riot before drying brown and being cut back in late autumn. How to cook and eat perfect asparagus spears in 4 easy steps. The key with asparagus is to cut every day and eat fresh. Step 1. Remove woody ends by bending the asparagus spears until they snap at their natural breaking point. Trim off any uneven ends with a sharp knife. Step 2. Plunge the asparagus into a pan of boiling water and cook for 2 minutes. Step 3. Heat a griddle pan to high, adding a generous knob of butter. Fry the asparagus spears for 6 minutes until they begin to soften and brown. Season to taste. I like salt and chilli flakes. Step 4. Eat up lovely. Thank goodness for the growing light. Perennial veg is my plan for the future. Years of sowing annuals has taught me that there's never enough time or energy to do everything. So perennials it is. But before we talk about that, there are some annuals I consider to be worth the extra effort, such as pumpkins, sunflowers, decorative gourds, courgette, garlic potatoes, wild flowers like yellow rattle, any wild flowers in fact, cucumbers, and peas. What will you try? Finally, it began. The mindful clearing of my growing space. Windows cleaned, surfaces wiped, the past swept away to be returned to flower beds, dust, fluff, leaves, dried up insects, all giving themselves to the soil's structure. Take time to sit and revel in your accomplishments. Now's a good time to line up your houseplants and see what needs potting on. Cleaning pots for indoor or outdoor use is a mindful process. Don't rush it. Allow the warm, soapy water to envelop your clever hands. Feel the soft cloth work the dirt away. Rinsed and allowed to dry on a clean tea towel. Repeat this process until completely satisfied. Cleaning and clearing takes time, a mental process as much as physical. You will be tired and you are deserving of rest. The movement into true spring is here, and it is astounding. Sometimes years of planning, daydreaming and work culminate in one glorious day of fruition. An amazing meeting of weather conditions, energy, assistance and drive lead to the laying of stones around the pond. We positioned the monolith standing stone as a beacon of joy and resilience. It is divine and unfinished, never complete, always evolving. There has been a definite shift in the borders towards whites and blues and greens. Honesty, Thalia daffodils, bluebells, and perennials bursting into leaf. Today, I planted potatoes, used rough compost to fill the apple orchard, and tidied strawberries, which were looking unmade and unloved. Sitting down on my favourite back saving stool, I tended to them by steadily cutting away the dead, brown and faded foliage of last year. New leaves are shooting and budding, now topped with fresh, life-giving compost. Last year's runners, now strong, healthy plants, were planted around the garlic and into big pots of their own. Now they need fed and fed and fed, with plenty of water and liquid seaweed. Before we part today, let's pause to call our energy back. Check on your literal and metaphorical seeds. How are they doing? Remember, everything germinates at its own rate, including you. List some ways you've been kinder to yourself this month. And if it feels right, you can assert, Resistance and doubt no longer serve me. I release them downstream with love. In the next episode, we stand daydreaming in the sun, get friendly with cardboard, and meet a Merlin. That's all to come next time. This episode was lovingly created by me, Angela Wallace. You've been amazing, and we've been Biophilic. Thanks for listening. Tap follow, and I'll be back soon with a new episode.